everyone. I will be discussing a portion of the key broadcast equipments used in radio production. So, for this presentation, I will specifically be discussing about the CD player, broadcast console, and the demagnetizer. So these may all sound usual. Some parts of this presentation will be new. Well, at least for me, because a part of this presentation was a bit of a surprise for me. And you will know why later, and you will know what it is in a bit. But yeah, these equipment actually play a very, very important role in producing clean and high quality sound for every radio program. So even in today's digital age, these tools or their modern version still serves as backbone of radio production, especially in the Philippine radio setup. So first, let's discuss about the CD player. So probably this will be the most familiar for all of us, at least for me. Before everything went digital, CD players were essential for playing recorded content. So that ranges from jingles, music, ads, or even interviews. Even now, smaller community based radio stations still use them, especially in areas where the internet connection is unstable. And actually, DJs use CD players during live broadcasts and control playback through broadcast console, adding fade ins or out for smoother transitions. So, in a bit, later on, I will be sharing to you what I mean by broadcast console, and you will see what it is. Okay, so next, let's talk about how it is used in the Philippines. So, in the Philippines, many FM stations like Love Radio or Barangay LS, they still use CD players, especially for special throwback segments. And you'll also find government or school-based station they still keep CDs as backup for their public service announcements or even backup for music like for flag ceremonies, for the Lupang Hinirang or for their alma mater song. They still have CDs as their backup in case internet connection is not available or the likes. What's interesting is that DJs actually sync CD players with the console, allowing them to manually fade in music or fade it out, and even overlay their voices for a professional or smoother transition. How is that possible? That's possible through a broadcast console. So, what do I mean by broadcast console? So, first, this is how broadcast console look like. So this is what I call the heart of every radio station, the broadcast console. This is also known as the mixer if you're familiar. It actually looks like if you're familiar with DJs at the bar or at the party area, they usually have this and then they mash up songs to produce super energetic music that everyone can dance on. This is also similar to that one. And this is what the DJs use in radio production. So every sound that goes on air passes through this equipment and it allows the DJ to actually balance voice, background music, jingles, or and even live calls. And without it, everything would sound messy or uneven, sometimes even boring, because of course, without the mixer, you cannot actually like put smooth transitions, especially for sound effects. And it will really make the whole segment boring without it. So think of it as a control cockpit. It makes sure everything that reaches the audience sound clean, intentional, and even engaging. So here's how it looks like. Usually, if you would notice in here, this is the DJ, this is Ted Filon, and in front of him are the mixers. So in local stations from Manila's DZMM or even to small community radios in the provinces, consoles are used not just for volume control, but actually for everything, just like what I mentioned earlier. From inserting sound effects, taking in live calls, balancing multiple microphones so everything is equal, not one is super loud than the other. And of course, it also prevents dead air. It allows DJs to prevent dead air. So for DJs, it's both a technical and a creative tool for them because it keeps the show flowing seamlessly and ensures the station sound professional, cohesive, and sometimes even aesthetic. So what do I mean by that? So let's listen in to the example that I have prepared. This is actually from Ted Filon's 105.9 radio segment. And you will see how Ted would actually use the mixer to add on sound effects, to make his voice louder, to make the whole reporting that he have better and more interactive sounding than not applying it at all. So, let's listen in.
Sa ating po
See
Sports
that?
Live, makakalaro na po ang mga
We fade
import
in
at
and
field
out.
foreign players ng PVL Reinforced Conference.
See, for now, the sound effects or the background music is at a lower volume, but his voice is on a louder volume. And then whenever he pauses, the background music becomes louder.
Yan nga po'y matapos pong mapirmahan ng Philippine National Volleyball Federation ang international transfer certificates ng mga
See that? He actually mastered the art of mixing in his voice just so the report will not sound boring. And then allow me to skip a couple of uh, time in here just so you will hear his injections of special effects.
sinasabi natin. Ayun, baby girl.
Oh, malungkot ka dito.
Sinasabi natin, abay, ganda ng simula ng Meralco Ball.
Oh, ay, grabe.
Pero kinalaunan, sila ang naghabol.
Ayun na.
Ang final score, 100.
See how he adds those additional sound effects just so everything would sound aesthetic and not boring for the audience. It actually makes the whole reporting slightly interactive in a sense, even if you're just listening to it. So there. And then next we have the demagnetizer. So this is what I was talking about when I was mentioning about learning something new. Because for me, this is my first time actually seeing what a demagnetizer look like. I didn't even know this actually existed. I didn't even know that you can actually reuse tapes once they have recorded in it already. So I didn't know about this one. Okay, so allow me to explain further what a demagnetizer is all about. So demagnetizer, these are devices that played a huge role before in the digital storage era. So allow me to explain to you what a demagnetizer is all about. This is also called a bulk eraser. And yeah, just like what I mentioned earlier, this might sound a bit of an old school item, but it played a huge role before in digital storage. So it was actually used to erase old recordings from tapes, so the same tapes could be reused again. In many Philippine government and school-based radio stations, this was a lifesaver because, of course, it saved a lot of money. You do not have to buy a lot of empty tapes because you'll be able to reuse what you have. So it reduced waste, and the concept of sustainability is in here because you can actually reuse what you have. So today, even if we've gone digital, the same concept applies, like formatting SD cards or clearing drives to ensure clean recordings. And so you can reuse whatever memory card or SD card that you have and put new stuff in it. So why these equipment still matter? Well, to sum it up, the CD players, the broadcast console, the demagnetizer, they may look old-fashioned to some, but their function remain the same, even in more modern radio production. The CD players provide reliability. The broadcast console gives full control, cohesiveness, and aesthetic to the whole segment. And then the demagnetizer represents sustainability and resourcefulness. In short, these remind us that even as we move to a digital broadcasting, the foundation of a good radio will always be the same: clarity, consistency, and creativity. So, in the end, Radio will always be about connecting people, and these tools, no matter how old or new they are what makes the radio production possible. So, yeah, thank you for listening. And I hope you now see how these pieces of equipment, no matter how big or small they help bring every radio story to life. So, thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.